So welcome everybody to Networking for Introverts. My name is Chris and I'm very excited to be introducing Shaun tonight and also learn from his presentation. This workshop is specially crafted for those who might find themselves a little bit outside their comfort zone while networking. And tonight we are hosted by TechTank, which is the organization that I'm part of. And we're a active group of devs, designers, PMs, and other techies that range from mostly junior and early career professionals to seniors with over 10 years of experience. And we've been hosting these kind of job related workshops and sessions and other study groups, as well as in-person social events in Toronto. So if you're interested in joining, we do have a Slack group and we'll plug in the link right now. So if you're interested in hearing more or just connecting with other like-minded people, or just connecting with other people who have been through a similar path, please click on the link and I will also plug it at the very end. And I would like to get on to introducing Shaun for you. I'm really excited for everybody to meet Shaun. He is a former teacher turned software developer with a very inspiring journey. And most recently, he's starting as a software engineer at IGT. And prior to, he's had experience being part of a team, whipping up management apps for the world's largest fast food chain. But apart from all of this, Shaun is a teacher. And he spent a good chunk of his life helping people learn. So he knows a thing or two about connecting with people. And tonight we're going to learn about how stepping out of your comfort zone and doing some savvy networking can open up doors despite our current market, regardless of where you fall in the introvert-extrovert spectrum. So very excited to just dive right into networking for introverts and pick up some top tips from Shaun. So I'm going to invite Shaun up. And we'll spotlight him and I will stop talking so we can get right into it.
All right. First, I will share my screen just to make sure. So everybody should see the title slide. Perfect. Okay. Thanks for the introduction. I recognize a few people from my last go at this. So that's great. I'm happy to see people taking some notes and following through on networking activities. So that's perfect. Okay. So networking for introverts, again, this is tailored for introverts, but if you're an extrovert, if you're kind of like in between, hopefully you'll still get stuff out of this. I won't go too much into super specific tactics, even though we'll cover that a little bit. This will be more about the general overview and some general strategies that we can go into. There might be some time for questions at the end if you have some specific tactics that you would like to discuss. So general overview of networking, we're going to start with the big picture and then we'll narrow it down as we go through this. So let's just talk real quickly about the perspective that introverts have when they think of networking in general. And I know I was in this boat before I started networking a lot too. And then just talk real quickly about what exactly is networking, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So typically when we're talking about networking from an introvert's perspective, there's this idea that it's dirty or it's slimy. There's something kind of scummy about it. And when it's done wrong, that is absolutely correct. It can feel very dirty. You can really feel like you're taking advantage of people or people are taking advantage of you. There's kind of a little bit of a relationship where you're just using the other person for something. When networking is done right, it doesn't feel that way at all. It should feel perfectly natural. It should really just feel like you're talking to, a coworker or a kind of an acquaintance. So just kind of keep that in mind that when it's done wrong, that's the way it's going to feel bad. But when you do it right, and hopefully by the end of this, you'll have some better ideas of how to do it right, it won't feel that way and it shouldn't feel that way. So it should be natural. It should be mutual as well. So you're getting something from the relationship, but the person that you're networking with is also getting something from the relationship. So it's mutually beneficial. So both parties are invested in it. Both parties are happy with it, and they're both experiencing positive things from it. And if you're a social person, I'm not, but some introverts are. It might even be fun for you. I don't know if I would call networking fun, although I've had fun networking, but the general process for me is very tiresome. After a few days of it, I tend to need to recharge my batteries. So yeah, when it's done wrong, it's not going to feel great. So this is a common one. Why do I have to do it? I just want a job, right? I just want to move on to my next career. I just want to get my first role in tech, whatever it is. That's a real common way. I have a friend that said exactly those words to me when I suggested that she start networking when she wasn't having any traction in her job search. There's kind of this idea that networking is an obstacle. It's just something that's going to get in the way. I don't want to have to go talk to 200 people when all I want to do is get an interview. That's all I'm trying to do. So let me just submit applications and get an interview. There's this paradigm, and I think a lot of people fall into it, especially maybe introverts. I know that I've fallen into it a lot too. There's this idea that, okay, so I'm looking for my first job in tech, right? And what I want to build a super cool app. I want to do some algorithm practice. I'm going to put it up on LinkedIn once in a while, what I'm working on, building in public. And I want a recruiter to find me and say, hey, look at Shaun. He's doing this wonderful stuff. He's really talented. Let's give this guy a look. That's what I want to have happen. But the truth is that people are people, like everyone in the world is a people person. Even if you're an introvert, you're a people person. You're just social by nature. That's what humans are. So the way that we would like it to work, hey, they just checked me out because I'm really talented, tends not to happen, right? You just get overlooked. Meanwhile, most people probably know someone who gets all the views, all the success, all the rewards, and they're doing half the work that you are. They're putting in half the effort. They're half as good. And all they're doing is just like, they're just a social butterfly, right? I had someone like that in grad school. It drove me nuts how much great things he got for half the effort that I was putting in. So networking can kind of boost you from this people part, from the talent part and into the people part. And then once people start looking at you more and they're engaging with you more, then they'll start to recognize the talent. So it's a really good way to kind of to jumpstart that process. I don't like meeting new people. This is me completely. I'm not real big on meeting new people. Some of you that, maybe you've talked to me on LinkedIn, maybe we've even done, face-to-face conversations or on Zoom. There's a few people in here that I've met one-on-one. Maybe you're surprised by this, but I'm definitely someone who does not like meeting new people. I like to just kind of, be to my own devices. So this can also feel like a big obstacle. Keep in mind, though, that networking isn't only about meeting new people. There is a component to networking that is about meeting new people. And it really depends on your goals as well. If your goal, for example, is to find a new job, get that first job in tech, maybe get your second job like I was just doing, then yes, you're going to have to meet new people. But if you already have a job or maybe you're just kind of looking to broaden your horizons, there's a lot of times that you're actually not going to be meeting a lot of new people. You might just be strengthening the relationships with the people that you already know. And the more you network, the more that plays into it. There's kind of only a certain point where you can start, when you can continue meeting new people. Once you get to, 500 people, it's really tough to keep meeting new people. You just kind of start strengthening the relationships that you already have. This goes for friends, family, coworkers, anyone that you already know is really fair game for this. So just kind of keep that in mind that these people who are really close to you are part of your network. And when you do networking activities, those people count as networking activities. It doesn't always have to be, hey, I have to jump on LinkedIn and send out a bunch of messages. Sometimes it's just sending a friend a text and saying, hey, how are you doing? That's a networking activity. All right. I don't do well talking to many people. This is pretty common. Even extroverts can struggle with this one. it can be really intimidating to meet new people and go out and just, go to a networking event where you have to talk to, 10, 15, 20 people at a time. Keep in mind, though, that introverts have a superpower here because the best networking is done one-on-one. And I truly believe that introverts excel more than extroverts on one-on-one communication. I know for myself, I'm good in like this format where I'm kind of giving a presentation or I'm teaching something. I'm great with this. But if you put me in a room with 5 people and it's just kind of a social get together with 5 people, I'm going to find the corner and I'm not going to say anything the entire evening or the entire day. I don't like those situations. I'm not good at all. But if you put me in a one-on-one situation with just about anybody, I'm pretty competent. I'm okay. And luckily, that's when the best networking occurs. So that's something that just kind of keep in mind, that it doesn't always mean I got to go talk to 10 people at a time or enter into a big group. The best ones to do are just one-on-one. This idea of I don't know many people, once again, it's not just new people. It's also not only people you know. So when you think of like networking, okay, it's not just your brother and sister and maybe some coworkers. It can also be the friend of your brother, or maybe your brother's friend has a cousin, or the brother's friend's cousin has someone that they know. Like that network extends out to people that you've never in your life talked to, but they're connected back to you. Like if you think of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? 6 degrees of separation. You can kind of play that game with yourself too. Right now, I'm looking to cut trees in my yard, so I've reached out to all the people that I know in my contact list and said, "Hey, do you know anyone who knows? Do you know anyone who knows anyone who does any kind of tree trimming?" And I found someone that does. Just a independent contractor. I never would have found that person because they're not listed. They don't really have a company. They just kind of do it. If I didn't reach out to my network, have no idea who this person is, other than they were recommended through a friend of a friend. Again, small network, it isn't a problem. And again, it depends on your goals. If you're job searching, you're looking to get your next role, especially your first role in tech, then a small network is going to work against you. That is true. But again, it really depends on what your goals are. Sometimes your goal isn't a job search. Once you get that job in tech, your goal might not be a job search. It might just be to learn a little bit, once a month. You just kind of learn about a new technology. In those cases, a small network isn't going to harm you. So just kind of keep that in mind, that when you set your goal of networking, that's when you kind of want to adjust your expectations of, okay, what do I need? A small network? Do I need a larger network? Do I need more people I don't know? Do I want to leverage the people I do know? All of these things play into what you're doing when you're networking. This idea that I have nothing to offer, this is probably the most common for people in terms of networking activities. There's something that a lot of people tend to do. I think this is parallel, or this is like a cousin of the imposter syndrome, which of course tech people tend to have a lot of. It's important to note, though, that you always have something to give. It doesn't need to be something grand. Okay, you don't need to, hey, I can make your company a new website. Yeah, cool. If you can do that, that's great. That's awesome. But it doesn't need to be that grand. Sometimes all you can give is your time and your gratitude, and that's enough, right? So sometimes your time, it can just look like, hey, if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out to me. Or I do that a lot. You'll see me comment on that on LinkedIn. And I do that when I talk to people. I'll say, hey, just feel free to reach out to me anytime. And when they do reach out, I really do try to give them some time. And gratitude, everyone always loves gratitude. It's also in short supply these days. So when you do give gratitude, it goes a long, long way. All right. So what is networking? Networking is really basic and simple when you boil it down. And it aligns with what I think is an introvert's true superpower. And all it is just building and nurturing connection with another human being. That's it. Once you take everything else away, you take out all the strategies, you take out all the tactics, you take out all the thinking and the analyzing and everything. All it is just building and nurturing a connection with another human being. And that's something that all introverts, even if you're not necessarily comfortable doing with strangers, you're really strong at doing that with people that you know, right? Friends, family tend to have deeper connections than extroverts. So kind of keep that in mind. If you align on the introvert, side of the spectrum, keep that in mind that this is going to be a huge advantage for you. It's going to be something that you're going to be able to do much easier. So how to be successful at networking. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what to do, and we're going to talk a little bit about what not to do. The what not to do is actually probably a lot easier than the what to do. But honestly, as long as you don't do the what not to do, you'll probably be successful. So we'll just start with the what to do. All right. So what to do? Do be your authentic self. This is really straightforward, but it trips a lot of people up. A lot of people think they have to come in being fake, or they have to put on a show, put on a character. And again, this kind of gets back to that idea of networking being kind of slimy, right? If you're putting on an act like you're a salesperson, then yeah, it's going to feel pretty dirty to do it. But if you're just yourself, then it's super natural and it's super easy. You don't have to pretend to be anybody. You can just be who you are. Be genuine. So if you're just a kind of person who isn't real professional, you don't need to be super professional. If you're someone who is very professional, be super professional. You don't need to be anything that you're not, and you don't need to apologize for it either. And if you're the type of person that likes to help other people, be really outgoing about that and say, hey, I want to help other people. I'm here for you guys. Just kind of, make sure that whatever you're doing, you're just being genuine with other people and to yourself. Always lead with value. This goes back to this idea of people feel like they don't have anything to give, right? They feel like they don't have any value with which to lead. So you can think about what you might have to offer and start from there. So a good way to do this is to just pick something you're good at. It can be anything, okay? I've talked to people on LinkedIn who want to post more, and they say, oh, what should I post to kind of get a little bit more networking activities going? And I say, just post something that you're passionate about. Post something that you know. One of my friends just started posting about, every Saturday he posts about nature and plants and that type of stuff. There's another popular engineer person who posts about being physically fit, right? And that's super popular stuff. So if you're good at something, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be yard work, okay? You can offer that stuff. You can tell people, hey, if you ever need tips on keeping a beautiful garden, let me know. They may not take you up on it. They may take you up on it, but you've put it out there, and you can lead with that value. That's valuable to someone. That's valuable to a lot of people. Don't sell yourself short on that type of stuff. Finally, do take breaks when needed. If you feel like you're starting to get burnt out, you're not enjoying it, it's starting to feel more and more like a job rather than something that you just do and don't really have negative feelings about, take a break. Take a day, take 2 days, take 3 days, take however much time you need to come back to it with a positive mind and feeling good about it. Because if you don't have that, that shows. If you're trying to talk to people in a one-on-one setting, you're at a networking event, you're on LinkedIn, whatever it is, and you're just really grumpy, you're in a down mood, you're really not feeling it, they're going to pick up on that. And then they're going to start thinking, well, this is something with me. Like, this person doesn't like me for some reason. And then that's when networking isn't gonna work at all, right? So if you need to take a break and don't feel bad about it. Kind of goes back to be genuine. Be genuine with yourself. If your body and mind is saying it's time to rest, it's time to rest and listen to yourself. All right, what not to do. Basically the opposite of what we just talked about. Don't put on an act. People can spot that really quickly. And when you're meeting people for the first time, you don't want them to get the wrong impression of you, right? You only have one chance to make a good first impression. And of course, people that know you obviously are going to know if you're just putting on an act. This is a super important one that so many people break, and they break it routinely. And it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. Don't contact people only when you need something. Now, okay, sometimes this can't be helped. For example, if you are searching for your first job in tech or second job, and you're reaching out to recruiters after you've applied to a job, okay, yes, you're going to, in some way, have to reach out to them to inquire about your application, try to get them on the phone. So yes, that in instances like that, you're only reaching out to them because you need something. However, in those situations, you can still frame it in a way that's more personable. Don't never send a message that's just, hey, can I get a job? Or, hey, what can you do for me? I know that sounds silly, but I get those messages, and I'm a small potato. I'm a nothing, and I get those messages. I can only imagine what people who actually have, like, say, an influence are getting all the time. But in general, in your network and in your networking activities, don't contact people only when you need something. Contact them just to establish a connection. If you have people in your network and you're nurturing the relationship, just reach out to them and say, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how's the new job going? How's your family? How's, whatever, if they have a hobby, how is the bike paths? Just anything, just kind of reach out and touch base with them. If you do need something, you're looking for a job, etc., touch base with them, give it a few messages at minimum, maybe a day of just kind of light banter, and then move on to, okay, this is my ask. This is kind of what you can help me with. All right. The goal of networking. So as we talked about real briefly, the goal of networking is all about establishing and nurturing a relationship, a mutual connection with another human being. That's it. That's all it is. So when we talk about nourishing contacts, let's break it down a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about the types of contacts that you have. Everybody has these types of contacts. Even if you don't think you have these types of contact, well, some people don't think they have the third type, but everyone has the third type here. There's cold contacts. These are strangers. These are random reach outs, okay? Like what happened to me for this event here, right? I got a DM from someone that I had no idea who it was. Hey, I saw that you did this thing. Would you be willing to come put on the presentation for, my group? Sure, okay. That's a cold contact because we didn't know each other. There was no kind of like setup or warm up. These are really prevalent. They used to be not so, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened. These used to be not as prevalent, but they're more prevalent because of social media. Especially, for example, LinkedIn gives you access to millions and millions of cold contacts. So if you do like those social Saturday type of events, you can get connected with 100 to 200 cold contacts a week, which is a lot. Definitely different than it used to be like 20 years ago. Then there's warm contacts. Warm contacts are people with whom you share a mutual connection, or maybe you know of each other. Maybe you've heard of each other, both kind of mutually. Maybe you share a friend or a coworker, or there's someone on LinkedIn that you see that they post on that person's content a lot, and you also post, but you've never really directly communicated. A warm contact could also be, for example, the person that I contacted about my trees, right? So it's a person that a friend of a friend knew. but my friend messaged him before and said, hey, I have this friend, Shaun, who needs some trees done. He's going to give you a call sometime today. So when I called, that person was already prepped, knew my name, knew the very basics of what I was looking for. That's a warm contact, right? It was cold, but she warmed him up for me, basically. These are also people that might be in your own network, family members, friends, old classmates that you just don't talk to a lot. Maybe you talk to them once a year, once every other year, but they're not people that you're really up to date with. Maybe it's someone like, oh, I know Kevin got married and I know he had a kid, but I really don't know what else is going on in his life. That's kind of a warm contact. Finally, we have hot contacts. These are generally, these are the least or the smallest type of contact. These are close friends or family. You can think of these as the people that would go to bat for you. These are the people that are going to fight for you. These are the people that if you have a flat tire on the side of the road and you give them a call, they're more than likely going to drop what they're doing and come help you. That's your hot contact list. They're super nice because they are willing to fight for you, but there is just not a very big list. So they're probably not going to be great at helping you with what you need, especially if you're job searching. In fact, more often than not, when you reach out to your hot contacts about job searching, they'll almost always say, I don't know anybody, sorry. That's a common response. There's ways around that to some extent. You have to help people learn how to network. But when you're job searching, warm contacts and cold contacts are really going to be where you're going to spend most of your time. So when you're looking at the goal of your interaction, so why do we do this thing called networking? What are we actually trying to accomplish when we are doing this? What we're really trying to do is the hot contacts are almost always going to be hot. So we're just going to deal with cold and warm. We're trying to move cold contacts into that warm zone. Just like the tree person. I contacted my friend. I reached out to a bunch of my friends, some warm and hot contacts, and one person was able to move that cold contact into the warm zone. And because of that, it was much easier to get things scheduled, et cetera, et cetera. Once you get them into that warm zone, you start to filter, okay, who can help me? Who's important? Who's someone of influence here? And then you start to maintain that temperature. If you're doing job searching, this might be recruiters, senior devs, people who work at companies that you're interested in on your company list. You want to maintain the temperature with these people. Again, that you don't need to talk to them every single day, but comment when they post. Send them a DM. If they're not the posting type, send them a DM once a month. Say, hey, how's the job going? Just maintain that temperature. If you're doing other things outside the job, for example, like this tree person, okay, if maybe he does landscaping or something else that I need, okay, maybe I reach out to him once every 8 months just to inquire about something, or just say, hey, I have a friend that might be interested in something, just kind of to keep me in his mind if I should ever need him. And finally, we want to establish long-term worth. That's a big part of this. The long-term game. Networking is not a short-term activity. You're not going to wake up on Monday and start your networking activities, and by Friday, you've landed a dream job because of all the networking you did over the week. It doesn't work that way. Okay? This is like the networking that you do today will pay off for you in September. Okay? It's a long-term game because you're establishing long-term worth. The nice thing about network, now I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, I need a job today. I need like the results today. Okay, but once you kind of get, it's like a snowball, right? So once it goes down the hill enough and it's this nice big giant ball of snow, unless you completely quit doing your networking, it really stays the size it is. It doesn't really shrink back down. So once you get your mojo going and you got your your networking activities going, then that long-term worth really starts to pay dividends. And it's very similar to, a savings account, et cetera. The more you put in and you wait a little bit, you start to get really good results down the road. So I just want to reiterate this because this is super important. And this is where people start to get frustrated and they quit because people want instant results. Okay. That's just the human nature. It's not a short-term activity. If you start today, you're not going to see results for a while, and it's okay. Don't get frustrated with it. Don't expect results right away. You're just, you're putting money in the bank. That's all you're doing. You're just putting a little bit of money in the bank. And over time, that's going to start to add up for you. Networking strategies. Okay, so I've broken this down into 3 groups, I guess, or 3 events. These are some ways that you can kind of approach these situations. And if you're job searching, which that's kind of, why a lot of people are here, these are things that you should really be doing regularly. I talked to a recruiter last week, and he's big on networking, and he asked me how often I attend in-person events. And I said, not really. I've attended one because I don't like them. I don't really find them very helpful, et cetera. And he said, you should be attending one in-person networking event a week. Like if you're in the job search, you need to be attending one a week because these are the highest yield for your efforts. There's nothing can replace meeting someone in person. And pre-pandemic, maybe you shake a hand. Now, maybe you just say hi at a distance, or maybe you give the old fist bump or something. Maybe people shake hands too, but there's just nothing that can replace that. If you struggle with in-person networking, just get to know one person. You don't need to meet the whole room. You don't need to meet 10 people, 20 people, nothing. Just get to know one person. So show up with that goal. Just tell yourself, I'm going to get to know one person today. And then just make that your mission for the time being. Don't worry if you don't accomplish the one, just get the one next time. But usually one is pretty doable for even me, who is, I really don't like these things. I'm really bad at them. And I really struggle with them. If I can do it, I believe everyone can do it. So don't leave until you know that person and have their contact details, okay? So where do they work? What's their job? What projects are they working on? What are some struggles they've been going through? Like an actual conversation where if someone interviewed you when you got back into your car, you could tell them all about this person that you met. So it's a lot more than just, I talked to Sarah. Like, okay, that doesn't do any good for anybody, right? Get to know them. Also, get their contact details, preferably LinkedIn, especially if you're in tech. A lot of people are using LinkedIn if you're in tech. There's a lot of people there's a lot of people in tech who need this webinar. So, but if you get their LinkedIn or at least their contact details in email or something, then you can do what we talked about of you've now moved them from cold to warm. So they're now a warm contact. And when you have their details, you can now nurture that relationship to keep them warm, right? It's like embers in a fire, okay? You can't expect to have a fire burning full blaze all the time. Not possible. But you also don't want those coals to go totally cold and unused, because then once you want to get that fire going again, it takes a long time. Again, networking is not a short-term activity. So should you ever need this person's help in the future, which is the entire reason you went to the networking event in the first place, you want those embers to be warm, not on fire. It's just not possible, but not cold, just warm. So that when you need them and you need to start that fire, they're already warm and kind of prepped. You can get that fire going pretty easily. Okay, that's kind of the analogy I like to use for this stuff. If you're not comfortable with this, if you think, oh my God, I don't think I can go talk to one person, that's a big ask for me. Okay, that I understand that. That's a big ask for me sometimes. walk up to the organizer or the person who's coordinating the event, whoever that might be, okay? You can even shoot them an email beforehand just to kind of prep, but they might be busy. So if they don't get back to you, don't take it personally. Walk up to them and introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm Shaun. I'm pretty introverted and really shy, and I'm not great at these type of events, and I'm not really great at meeting new people. Could you introduce me to one rock star and I'll be totally happy? More often than not, meaning like almost always, that person is going to introduce you to someone, okay? And that's kind of a shortcut that you can now, that person that you're going to meet turns from a cold contact into instantly a slightly warm contact, because this is someone that the coordinator already knows. The coordinator is probably prepared for this situation. That's part of, if you're putting these events on, you kind of plan for some of these circumstances, okay? And it's probably someone that the coordinator knows and someone that they know in their mind, okay, this is a good person to introduce shyer people to. So this can be a really good shortcut for you. Oh, this is my repeat slide. Sorry, I should have taken this out. This is just a repeat. We're just going to go through this. Okay. When you're in-person networking, it's important. Go in with a plan. And this is also good for events too. So if you go to, like a dev meetup or something like that, okay? A lot of time in meetup situations, for me anyways, I'll probably go and sit there for 5-10 minutes and do the pretend I'm on my phone thing so I don't look like an idiot, and then leave because I don't know what to do. So just go in with a plan, okay? Decide ahead of time on a number of people to get to know. 2, 3, 4, 1, if you're just starting out. Increase it over time. Establish your elevator pitch. This is like a 1 minute, 30-second kind of pitch of who you are, what you do, and do you bring any value to the table. Then when you meet people, all you have to do is just give your elevator pitch. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about, okay, what if I say the wrong thing, or what do we talk about? That happens to me all the time. What do I talk about? I never know what to talk about. Once it kind of gets to like that small talk portion of the conversation, my mind is blank and I am horrible. So this makes it easy for me. I just have to go down my checklist and just talk about those checklist things and then exit out of the conversation. Prepare an anecdote or a story, or like I said, talking points, something that is just kind of a nice thing to talk about. It can be a funny, humor always works. Be careful, it's not like raunchy humor that doesn't always work, but gentle family style humor, dad humor, that stuff always works. So prepare some kind of an anecdote or a story. People love to talk about their jobs. People love to talk about music. People love to talk about, just general life things. So you can always prepare something about those or talking points. Give yourself a script, okay, as I said, so that you don't have to think if that's something that you struggle with. Always prepare 2 to 3 questions to ask so that when they're telling their story and you're listening, you can come in, you can ask them specific questions just in general, okay? Make these questions like about their job or about the challenges or something else, especially if you're going to like networking for job events, okay? Don't be like, oh, so do you like Dairy Queen ice cream? I mean, you can do that, right? But, make use of your time if you're going to, these networking events. If all else fails, find the other quiet person, the other person who's just pretending to do something on their phone, and go say hi to them. Because you're both being quiet, right? You're both kind of wasting your time at this networking event. And yeah, I mean, you could ask them their favorite flavor. I mean, they get to know them, right? It will give you something good to talk about when you enter their DMs. Hey, did you ever go get your strawberry chocolate ice cream at DQ? Set a time, leave when it's done. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you feel like you have in you, just set a time. And then when that time's up, decide, I'm actually having fun. I want to stay a little bit longer. That happens to me sometimes. Or, yep, it's time to go. I'm done. And then just leave. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't have to come up with an elaborate story, you know, why you're leaving. Just go. Just say, hey, thanks everybody for this. I'll see you next time. I think 20 to 30 minutes is a pretty good start. And then just expand it over time. All right. Events are kind of like this type of a thing, right? Where they're not really, they're set up in a group way, but they're not necessarily structured for specific networking activities. This is kind of one of them, right? We're here in a group. There's a lot of people here, so there's a chance to meet people, but it's also kind of set up for you to gain information, and there's not necessarily a networking component set in. This is kind of a special category. Do something, introduce yourself and get seen, okay? A good way to do this is to ask a question. When you ask a question, make sure that you're asking a meaningful question. It's always nice to introduce your question with a context or a story. That makes it much easier for people to remember you after the event, because that's what you're end up going to do. You're going to do with this, okay? Is you're going to introduce yourself somehow. I think asking a question always works, and you're gonna pin it to something that someone can remember. So then afterwards, when you slide into the person's DMs, okay, and you say, yeah, I was that person that asked that question about X, they're much more likely to go, oh yeah, I remember you, okay? You've kind of instantly turned that cold interaction into a slightly warm interaction. Leave your LinkedIn info when you go to these type of events. Throw it in the chat. Like don't just throw it at random times either. Wait until a good moment. Hey everybody, great to meet you. Here's my LinkedIn. Get in touch. Okay. If you ask a question and you are seen, take that, your 15 minutes of fame, right, in the event. Take that moment and throw your LinkedIn in the chat as you're doing it if you can. Hit the enter as you're asking it, or right afterwards. You can even say, if people really like your question, you can even say, hey, my LinkedIn's in the chat if anyone wants to get in touch. Don't be shy about your networking activities. Okay, don't try to hide it. Like, people can't know that I'm trying to network here. That's why you're here. You're here to network. We all know it, so don't try to hide it. On social media, this is a big one, and this is what I spend a lot of my time talking about on LinkedIn. It's given people a really good chance to network. At the same time, it's changed things a bit, because people naturally, right, we want to network face to face. Even if you don't want to, that's just how we've evolved to network face to face. So social media kind of changes things. It's a little bit harder. There's a lot of sales and marketing tactics that you have to kind of get into to make social media work for you. This is the bare minimum of the crash course that I can give on this. There's this idea of push-pull marketing, okay? And any entrepreneur has to get in touch with this stuff real fast. Push marketing is things that literally you push people towards where you want them. So for networking, right, you want to get them in your network and you want to move them from cold to warm. So you're pushing people into that zone. This is things like you're sending out connection requests. You're commenting on posts. Maybe you've identified a recruiter at one of your target companies. You followed them, and every single time that they put up anything on LinkedIn, you're in there commenting on it. That works, by the way. Like, that's possibly how I got my last 2 jobs. So that definitely works. Things like participating in the social Saturdays and other daily events, okay? And you're in there, you're commenting, you're putting your information in there, you're responding to people who are putting in their posts. You're becoming one of the people that other people see are showing up all the time. Hey, there's that Shaun dude again. I've seen him the last 4 weeks. What is this guy about? Then there's pull marketing. Okay. This is the kind of stuff that you're constantly putting out there and people naturally will gravitate towards you. This is stuff like consistently posting. Again, we talked about this before, but when you're posting, make sure that you're doing value posting. So if you don't know where to start, okay, you've never, you only put in 1 or 2 LinkedIn posts up, maybe 1 or 2 a month. You don't really do this. You're not sure what to do. Don't worry about value posting. Okay, that stuff will come later. Just post something every day. Okay. The best thing to post is just to post, what are you working on? What struggles are you going through? How's your tech journey going? Is there anything that you need help with? What are your thoughts? You can just start there. But as you go, you want to start doing value posting. This is one of the areas that I see people make the most mistakes in, is they get in the habit of posting every day and they get that momentum going. So they're posting 5 to 6 times a week. Great. That's amazing. But they never switch from posting about themselves. This is what I'm doing. This is about me. They never switch that to, this is about other people. And so they never start to get the pull that will bring you. Because once you start posting value, that other people are getting value from your posts. Hey, I look at Shaun's posts because I get something from those. He gives me tips on how to get a job or how to network, whatever it is, right? That's why I show up to Shaun's page. If you don't make that switch, people don't engage with you, right? They'll come and check on you once in a while. Oh, Shaun, talks about himself all the time. He's constantly talking about the projects he's working on. I see it once in a month because, I'm just kind of seeing how he's doing. But you don't get the regular network and pull that you would when you're doing value posting. So again, if you're just starting out posting, just post anything. Just get in the habit of posting once a day. Hopefully 6, 7 times a week. But if you can do 6 is fine too. 5 is fine too. 5 to 7 times a week. You're just posting. Do that for a while till you're in the habit, till you feel comfortable with it. Then start to switch over to value posting. Again, we talked about this idea, I have nothing to value. You have something to value. It can be anything at all. It doesn't matter. I talk about networking and getting a job and such because that's something that I struggled with. It took me 8 months to learn all of this stuff. 8 months of like 10 hours a day, literally 7 days a week. It was horrible experience. I don't want other people to go through that. So that's what I talk about. But if you are super into, again, just to pull something random, into lawn care, talk about that. Talk about helping people with their lawn. Just make sure once in a while you throw in what you're doing. Hey, I also do this tech stuff. Look what I built. I built this app that helps people know when and how to cut their lawn. Isn't that cool? Okay, I know it sounds silly, but this is the kind of stuff that managers, hiring people, recruiters, they like to see that you are trying to help other people. That's the people they want in their organization. They want people who can bring value to others. Okay, I went on a lot about that, but that's because this is like key stuff. Okay, you can always create events or communities. I'm doing a lot of lawn care these days because we bought this house in August and like the lawn needs a lot of work. So most of my time in unemployment has been spent like fixing lawn stuff. So that's all I'm thinking about these days. You can create events or communities. Like I created this webinar originally. You always have something to offer. Don't count yourself short. Okay, here's some example scripts that you can use. Don't write these out. We'll figure out a way to put the slides up, or even just the scripts so you can use them. Okay, I'm not going to read these off. I'll just leave them up here for like 30 seconds. So you can kind of read through them. The elevator pitch, I talked about this. A real quick 30-second, 1-minute explanation: who you are, what you do, what you offer. Short, to the point. Okay, it highlights a few different things. I'll give you a second to read that. All right. So quick elevator pitch there from Bruce Wayne. If you reach out to a recruiter, again, don't come in hot. I cannot stress this again. Don't come in hot. It's like showing up on a blind date and like proposing right out of the gate or saying some really crude, nasty comment. It's a total put off. It ruins your chances of ever establishing any kind of, mutual connection with a recruiter or anyone. Just don't come in hot. So there's really 6 key points to a good reach out. Try to throw them in. Who you are, why did you choose that person? What do you want from them? Again, not in a crude way. You're just letting them know, here's why I messaged you. Because otherwise they go, what is going on? Like, why did this person do this? Okay. What you offer, in other words, what value you bring. Gratitude. Remember we talked about that, how important gratitude is and how it's in short supply these days. And what is the next step? Because most people, they're busy thinking about their own lives and what they're doing. If you don't give them a next step, they're just going to forget about you right away because you're not important to them. I know we all want to think that we're super important to everybody in the world, but we're not. So you need to give them a next step so that they know what to do to continue this networking thing. So here's a little recruiter reach out. I'll give you a second to read this. So real quick, just think to yourself, okay? You don't have to say anything, just think. If you got a similar message to this, right, in your inbox in LinkedIn, would you reply to it or would you say, heck, I don't want to talk to this person, okay? Me personally, I'd reply. And notice there's a lot of buttering up in here, right? There's a lot of, you want to think of like ass kissing, right? There's a lot of compliments. It's more about, hey, I'm reaching out to you because you're a super cool person and I want to be super cool like you, okay? It's not, hey, I think you can get me a job. Why don't you talk to me so I can get a job? Notice the tone difference between those two. One, you're going to get a lot of responses. 2, the other one, you're going to get a lot of ignores. All right. Final one, warm, hot, reach out for their job. This is, like we said, when you reach out to your hot network, sometimes your warm network, hey, do you know anyone who's hiring for software engineers? 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to hear, no, I don't know anyone, right? So the most important thing here when you reach out to your hot network about job stuff is you really need to be super, super specific and also help them along. Tell them what maybe they can do. Hey, do you think maybe you could talk to some people at work if they know anybody? Okay, like you kind of have to give them a roadmap of what to do. So here's a quick one for this script. So the more specific, the better. Help people help you. And if they really don't seem to know, you can start to give them roadmaps and tell them kind of direct them from afar. That helps a lot of people. Finally, before I end this, just a quick anecdote. So my first job in tech as a developer, I started boot camp. I didn't know anything at all about coding, engineering, nothing, zero. And I attended a boot camp. That was 6 months. And I got my first full-time job 6 weeks out of boot camp. Okay, so it took me 6 weeks. I only sent out like 15 to 20 applications. I got a job through networking, 100% through networking. I just got a DM in my LinkedIn, messages, and that led straight to a job. So networking does work. This second job, it took me 12 weeks to find this job after I got laid off in February. It's supposed to be a super tough market. I know a lot of people that are struggling. It took me 12 weeks. I applied to between 40 to 50 jobs. And once again, this came 100% through networking. I got referred to this position, well, not the position necessarily, to the company by someone in my network. I didn't know this person. There's someone who follows me on LinkedIn. When they found out that I was looking for a job, they sent me a message and said, hey, our company's hiring. I can refer you. That led straight directly to this job. The reason why that I suspect, the reason why this person referred to me isn't because I put up the greatest, tech videos. It's not because they necessarily think that I'm the greatest engineer of all time, right? It's because I bring value to people's lives, or I try to anyways. I try to help people out. And that was inspiring to the person. That really spoke to them. Hey, this is the kind of guy that Shaun is. We want these kind of people in our company. So don't think that you need to demonstrate how amazing you are at all times, to coding or network, to programming or whatever industry you're in. That's not necessarily what you're looking for. You're just looking to show people how great of a person you are, how helpful you are, and just once again, how your genuine self. You want to show them your genuine self so that they say, hey, we want this person who seems like a really cool, helpful, value-driven person in our organization. Let's reach out and contact them. That's how I did it. I think that's how anybody can do it. 6 weeks, that was kind of a miracle, but 12 weeks, I think is definitely doable. Okay, thank you, everybody. That's my pitch. I'll stop sharing here.
Thank you so much, Shaun. That was so wonderful. And I think the biggest learning for me was to, you actually put a name to a lot of these things that I didn't cold connection, warm connection, hot connection. And I think that was really helpful for me to understand and talking about how, and simplifying, I guess, some of the concepts that, and also breaking down some of the myths. I love that you started with that. I think that was really, really helpful. So yeah, I know we are two minutes to 9, but I would love to see if anyone has any questions for Shaun. I mean, we probably don't have time for too many, and also at the end, we'll plug in some LinkedIn links in a sec. But does anybody have any questions for Shaun? Don't be shy. I mean, I do understand we are at a introverts, networking for introverts. So maybe we're all introverted here and we're too shy to ask questions, which is totally understandable. And this is not the one-on-one superpower scenario that Shaun was explaining before. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can also just DM me. But we can also I guess, connect on LinkedIn. Like if you want to ask Shaun any questions directly, I'm sure he'll be happy to pop his LinkedIn profile in here, if you wouldn't mind. And actually, yeah, I guess, do you want to tell us about your new position? I think Sebsi is asking.
I haven't started yet. It's supposed to start next week. They just called today just to let me know that there was a little bit of a hang up with the background check on their end. So it should start next week, but I don't know what I'm doing. Real quick, I'm a JavaScript, MERN stack. I did the boot camp, so I'm MERN stack. There's a really high chance that I got hired for a Java and Python job that it doesn't do any JavaScript. So also just kind of keep that in mind that part of what is great about networking is that it bypasses all of your the holes that you might have, or I don't know. I would never call not knowing another language a hole or a weakness, but when they hear, hey, this person recommends that person, they're much more likely to say, we're going to take a chance on this person, right? That's another big benefit you get from networking. Also, just keep in mind that there's a myth out there that, oh, you have to know everything in the job description, otherwise you can't apply because you'll never get a job. That's total bunk, okay? They will help train you on the job if they think that you are good enough as a candidate to overcome those learning hurdles.
For sure. Yeah, so we're getting some comments. It looks like, yeah, people are, yeah, feel free to pop your LinkedIn's in here. I think it's a good time for that. And Shaun, if you wouldn't mind sharing yours as well. And I think it'll also be a good time for you to practice your, send it with a little connection message, right? Ask Shaun about lawn care tips or give him some lawn care tips of your own. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
I need all the tips I can get. I'm not a handyman at.
Yeah, I've just popped in my LinkedIn there as well. I'm also going to pop in. Oh, there's a question from Joel. Question about those LinkedIn posts for the value posting. Is it something that you would do 5 to 7 days a week? I feel like I'd run out of value really quick.
Um, it, I sometimes feel that way too, especially when I first started posting more. I felt that way. You'll be surprised at if it's something that you're interested in and passionate about, and if it's something that you have any kind of expertise at all about. You'll be surprised at how much just kind of in your head mundane content that you can come up with that other people will find value in. So every single post doesn't need to be this groundbreaking, never heard before type of post. It can just be little tiny slivers of wisdom. It might not even have any wisdom in it. It might just be, hey, remember to plug in your computer before you turn it on. I mean, like, it sounds so stupid to say, and you're like, oh yeah, like who would ever listen to that? But these tiny little things that you think are second nature, other people out there don't necessarily think of them as second nature. They might need that reminder, or they might think, you know what, I'm so glad that Shaun posted that today because it just happened to me last night. I tried to turn on my computer without plugging it in. Son of a gun. And there he is. I mean, it's a silly, of course, it's kind of a silly example, but you'll be surprised at what you can come up with and what people will find valuable.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And I do want to say, I think one of my favorite, and you gave a lot of analogies tonight, but one of my favorite ones was how you compared connecting with someone like a date. You wouldn't show up to your first date and propose to them immediately. So not coming on too strong. I've definitely gotten, and again, I'm a small potato as well, but I've definitely gotten LinkedIn DMs without even introducing themselves. They'll ask, "Can you refer me?" And
Yeah.
I don't even know who you are. So yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't propose to me first.
Yeah, I think if you approach most of your, especially on social media, because it's just so in person, it's a little bit different, right? You kind of naturally have buffers that we've all built in interact with people in life, but especially in social media, if you approach all of your interactions kind of like you would approach a blind date scenario, you'll be way safer and just way more successful. It'll just kind of keep you in that, that nice professional, but yet a little bit casual zone that you're kind of aiming for.
Yeah, for sure.
Without the like, hey, you look nice and all that crap. Just leave that. Some people do that too. Don't be those people.
Yeah, don't do that for sure. Yeah, so I think, yeah, super valuable stuff. Maybe Shaun, after we can connect, and if you can send the slides, that'll be lovely, and we can share it in the group. I'm just gonna plug in the Slack workspace again if anybody is interested. We got some LinkedIn still coming, so please feel free to connect with one another. I am going to close up for the night. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you so much, especially to Shaun, for your presentation. And, I look forward to, now that we have moved on from a cold to a warm contact, I hope that we can keep this going. And, I hope that many of us here could move into warm and hot contact as well. Yeah, I'm going to be using those terms. It's going to be part of my vocabulary now. So I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful night. I am going to stop recording.